I'm back, and before you say anything, yes, I know I disappeared again. And no, I'm not sorry about it because about to tell you exactly why it had to happen that way and why this time is different from every other time I have shown back up. Let me be clear about what you just stumbled into. This is not a polished spiritual wellness podcast. There's no gentle background music. Nobody is going to tell you to breathe and align your chakras while sipping herbal tea in a perfectly lit room. I mean, unless we're in session, but even then, I don't know. This is my spiritual shit show. The name is intentional. The shit show part is not a joke. It is a promise. This is a real talk about real soul work from someone who has actually done the damn work. Not read about it, not certified in it, although I do have quite a few certifications now. Lived it, built systems from the wreckage of it, and is still in the middle of it because that's how it works. You don't graduate from being human. Hello? If you need someone to make the spiritual path sound prettier than it actually is, there are approximately 10,000 other podcasts for that. This is not fucking one of them. Here's the truth about why I stopped. Twice. The first time I had the right frequency and zero consistency, and someone told me I needed to show up on a schedule, so I attempted it. And it felt like wearing someone else's shoes and being told to run a marathon in them. Wrong size, wrong direction, wrong fucking everything. The second time, I had the right subject, neurodivergence, and how this world is built for exactly the wrong damn people, and I stopped because I thought nobody was ready to hear it. But apparently that was not the real reason. The real reason was that my voice was not ready to carry it yet. And that distinction matters more than anything else I'm going to say today, because there is a difference between having something to say and being ready to say it at full power without apologizing for the frequency before it exits your mouth. I'm ready now, and holy fucking hell, does my voice have a lot to say. I need to talk about something that almost broke me and would have if I had let it go on any longer. I have emotional authority in human design. For those of you who do not know what that means, let me break it down as simply as I can. Every significant decision I make has to ride a full emotional wave before it is correct. Could be an hour, could be a day, hell, sometimes it's even weeks. The wave moves through excitement, doubt, clarity, confusion, and somewhere in the complete arc of that wave, the right answer becomes clear. Not before, not during, after the full ride. And someone with the absolute best intentions in the world, I'm sure, kept telling me to be consistent, to show up on a schedule, to commit to a posting cadence and stick to it. Hell, this person even said, "What's lying deep underneath that?" Kind of like being gaslit. Doesn't it sound like that? That advice, however well-meaning, was the wrong advice for my specific design. Full stop. Because when I rushed the wave to meet someone else's timeline, I went straight into my not-self theme, which is frustration. And frustration, for a generator, which is me, is not just an emotion. It's a full body signal that says you are operating against your own design. Everything you produce from that state is going to feel off because, fuck, it is off. And here is what I need every single person who has ever given that advice to someone with emotional authority to understand. Unless you have actually lived inside an emotional wave, unless you have felt the full arc of it move through your body from high to low to clarity, you do not even have close to an educated guess about what overriding it costs. So the next time you are tempted to tell someone with emotional authority to just decide already or just be consistent, I need you to sit the fuck down, be quiet, and let them ride their goddamn wave. Because the decision that comes out the other side of that wave is worth the wait every single time. All right, let me go deeper on this because I don't think most people understand what the wave actually feels like from the inside. And I'm tired of it being described like it's just taking a little extra time to think things over. It's totally not that. The emotional wave is a full physiological experience. It moves through the body. It has a high where everything feels possible and clear, and yes, it has a low where everything feels wrong and heavy and oh, absolutely fucking not. And it has a neutral clarity that only shows up after the full arc has completed, after both the high and the low have moved through. And here's what nobody tells you. The high is not the answer. The low is not the answer either. Both of them are just the wave doing its job. The answer lives in the quiet that comes after both of them have passed. And that quiet cannot be rushed. You cannot manufacture it by positive thinking your way through the low. You can't shortcut it by acting on the high before it's fully crested. You have to ride the whole damn thing. And when someone tells you to just decide already, they're asking you to act from either the high or the low, both of which are incomplete information, both of which will produce a decision that your body will tell you is wrong the moment the wave moves to the next phase. I've made decisions from the high that felt like absolute certainty in the moment and felt like, what the hell was I thinking 3 days later when the wave dropped? I made decisions from the low that felt like obvious truth and looked completely different when the clarity finally arrived. The only decisions that have held up, every single one of them, came from the neutral clarity after the full wave. Every single one. So the next time someone with emotional authority tells you they are not ready to decide, they aren't being difficult. They're not even being indecisive, and they're definitely not avoiding the question. They're doing the most responsible thing available to them, which is waiting for the information that only arrives after the full wave completes. Respect the fucking wave, or get the hell out of the way. Those are the only two options that make any sense. Now let me talk about the other thing that this show is going to dig into consistently, because it's the piece that almost nobody in the spiritual space is talking about with any real accuracy. I have neurodivergences, multiple wiring patterns, and no, I'm not going to list them as a disclaimer or an explanation for why I am the way that I am. I am going to name them as the soul-chosen processing differences they actually are, because that distinction matters more than most people realize. First of all, the word disorder implies something went wrong. Nothing fucking went wrong. Or that something malfunctioned. Promise you, nothing malfunctioned. Something needs to be corrected back to a standard that someone else decided was correct. Nope, it's not that either. That's definitely not what happened. What happened is that a specific nervous system, a specific neurological architecture, and way of processing the world arrived in a culture that was built by and for a completely different kind of processor. And then that culture spent decades gaslighting and telling the different processor that the problem was the processor rather than the fit. That is not a medical conclusion. That is a design conclusion. And it has been doing damage to genuinely extraordinary people for a very fucking long time. Here is what I know from my own wiring and from the work I do with clients who carry similar patterns. The same neurological architecture that makes certain daily structures genuinely difficult is the same goddamn architecture that produces the pattern recognition, the depth perception, the creative leaps, the intuitive accuracy, and the capacity for genuine systemic thinking that the conventional frameworks can't even try to replicate, no matter how hard they attempt to. You can't have one without the other. The wiring that makes the world harder in certain ways is the same wiring that makes the contribution possible. And anyone who tells you that you can medicate, therapize, or discipline your way to the neurotypical version of yourself while keeping the gifts is lying to you. Possibly with good intentions, but they're still fucking lying. This show is going to talk about the intersection consistently. Well, and constantly too. The soul work and the wiring, the spiritual framework and the neurological architecture, because they are not separate conversations. They are the same conversation, and it is long past time someone said it out loud without sanitizing it for the comfort of people who have never had to navigate either one. I know exactly who is sitting across from me right now. You are the version of me that was sitting in the confusion before the framework existed. The one who knew something was true but could not articulate it, no matter how hard you tried. The one who had been told so many times to be something other than what you actually are, that you started to wonder if this something other was the real version and everything else was the problem. You are the one who needed someone to just tell the damn truth without packaging it for palatability. This show is for you. Every episode, no exceptions. I am not going to give you a content calendar because I think you already know that's not how this works. What I will tell you is this. We are going to talk about the stuff nobody is saying out loud in the spiritual space. The neurodivergent wiring patterns that most people are calling disorders when they are actually soul-chosen processing differences. The self-love work that is not affirmations and bubble baths, but actual reckoning with what got built in the dark. The astrology, human design, and numerology layers that tell you not just who you are, but why you're wired the way you are, and what the hell to do with that fucking information. And we're going to talk about all of it in exactly the language it deserves, which, as you've noticed, is sometimes profane, always direct, and never filtered for the comfort of people who were not going to do the fucking work anyway. Buckle up, Buttercup. You're coming along whether you like it or not. Here's the one thing I needed to hear when I was sitting where you might be sitting right now. You're not too much. You're definitely not fucking broken. You're really not behind like you think you are. And you are not the goddamn problem. You are a specific frequency that has been trying to fit into containers built for a completely different signal. That's like trying to put a square in a circle hole. It's never going to fit. And the work is not in shrinking the frequency. The work is in finding or even building the containers that were actually designed to hold it. That is what this show is. A container built for the frequency that does not fit anywhere else. See you next episode, whenever the wave says it's time. Until then, I'll see you on the other side of this.